Juan Soto has chosen the New York Mets on a 15-year deal that will be, when all is said and done, worth $805 million. That opportunity to void the opt-out after the 5th year will most certainly come to be a thing. He will take this thing to $805 million. The Mets will not let him walk after that 5th year. So the Mets win. And I want to say, any LOL Mets gonna Met, that's dead. That can never be used again. We were live for the announcement, so I wanted to come on here and do a shorter recording for those of you that may be looking for some reaction or my reaction specifically. You don't try to sift through a 3.5-hour live stream. I wanted to record something new, something fresh to kind of condense all of the thoughts that we had on Juan Soto going to the New York Mets. And shout out to Bill Madden as the night was unfolding. And shout out to Mike Puma and Andy Martino that got the whole thing started. Because around 8 o'clock Eastern, they both put out posts on Twitter that the decision could be tonight. And that it was all indications from sources that it was going to be tonight. Got everything rolling. And it should come as no coincidence that they were New York guys as this thing was coming down to Yankees versus Mets in the end. And as far as the Yankees go, according to Martino, the Yankees were in the lead through much of the process until late on Sunday. And Steve Cohen came through. I think the way he put it on Twitter was off the top rope, out of nowhere, like an RKO from Randy Orton, and Jim Ross is on the call. That was Steve Cohen to go and get his star, a player that has been linked to the Mets for years now, actually coming through. And for him not to go back to the Yankees, to the Pinstripes, to Aaron Judge is monumental. It feels like it is ground shaking in the Major League Baseball landscape. Because as Draftneck Mark reacted, because we on the live stream kind of bopped around, we saw what we checked out Wardy, we checked out Jolly, we checked out Draftneck Mark to see the reaction, and he started once he got his thoughts together, talking about how the Mets don't beat the Yankees in this. They don't beat the Yankees, period. This is the first time the Mets have beaten the Yankees at something. Lost to them in the World Series. They lose to them for other key free agents. They won this one. And this is a big one. The largest contract that we have seen in sports goes to Juan Soto by Steve Cohen and the New York Mets. We heard that the Boston Red Sox, they were in at $700 million, so they came up about $100 million light. But what happened to that Thanksgiving deal? Obviously, that was bullshit. That was to promote a podcast. That was to try to promote and gain some clout on social media. Come on. Toronto, we have no idea. As of recording, we still don't know what the Blue Jays' offer was. All of the reporting was that the Blue Jays would be there with the largest offer. Did they? Would it have mattered? In the end, the New York Mets obviously had not just a dollar figure, but a pitch that won. And what is that pitch? I gotta think there is a plan for more big-time acquisition. We know David Stearns can be cerebral, lean on a scouting department, find guys that others think are washed, and get something out of them. We saw it last year with Minaya and Severino. I think we're going to see it again with Montas and probably Clay Holmes and anybody else he signs. Believe in David Stearns. But when you think about what's next for the Mets, with Juan Soto on board, and you take a look at this lineup, I feel like there has to be another marquee addition from a hitting perspective. We know it needs to happen from a pitching perspective because Soto now, as we also talked about during the live stream, is going to have to get through the Dodgers. One of the teams that was in it towards the end that he chose to not go play for, he's going to have to get through them now every year as a New York Met. Going back to New York almost would have been easier because in the National League, I'm sorry, this is just the way it is right now, and it can change, but it's harder to get to the World Series in the National League because you have the Braves, you have the Phillies, you have the Dodgers, you have the Padres. That's today's landscape. Down the road, you'll have the Giants. You'll have other teams stepping up. In the American League, Houston's kind of been the dominant player, but we could be seeing the end of that. With Bregman a free agent and Tucker and Valdez leaving most likely after next year because they're going to cost too much and Altuve getting older, we could be seeing the beginning of the end for the Astros. Maybe not. Maybe the Astros reload and they're fine. But if this is the beginning, you could see it. They had to get through, and I don't mean to disrespect Kansas City and Cleveland, but they had to get through Kansas City and Cleveland to get to the World Series. And that's kind of the way it's going to work in my eyes when I look at the American League for the next 5 years. It's going to probably be a different team that has stepped up and emerged and is the dominant player that year, and that's who you have to get through. Whereas in the National League, you know the Dodgers are going to be the super team, the Braves are always going to reload, the Phillies are going to reload, the Padres are going to reload. That's the scenario. This is going to be harder. So the Mets need more. If the bar is the Dodgers, look, I know David Stearns can do some really creative things, but at the end of the day, you need the talent to win out. And there's still a lot of talented players available in the free agent marketplace. I think you have to go and get more pitching. And I think you got to aim high. I think, you got cute and creative with Montas and Holmes. I think you need to go out and land yourself a big-time fish. Go big game hunting for that other starter. Maybe it's in a trade. Maybe it is a Garrett Crochet or a Jesus Luzardo or somebody from Seattle. Maybe it is Luis Castillo. But if you're the Mets, you got to, after this signing, it's all go big, go home, World Series or bust. Last year was sort of a year off from that. You're right back in it now. It's World Series or bust every single year for the next 15 years. So you're almost assured one or two more big-time moves. You have to make one in the pitching side of things with that rotation, and I think you need a bat. Now, maybe there's a plan. Maybe it was part of the pitch that we have our eyes on one of the top free agents next year, which means this year, a Pete Alonso return, I don't know if it's guaranteed. I could see it happening, but I don't know if it's necessarily the way they're going to go. They could move Mark Vientos to first base and give Brett Beatty one more chance. And if not Brett Beatty, try another option. Ronnie Mauricio is going to be back. Maybe he's awful at third. And if all of it falls apart, there's always Gio Urshela on the free agent market for a one-year deal. Or you leave Mark Vientos at third base and you go grab a first baseman like Paul Goldschmidt on a one-year deal. Anthony Rizzo on a one-year deal. Carlos Santana. Carlos might take 2 years because he wants to keep playing. Father Time wants to keep going. He's not willing to give in yet. So you maybe have to do 2 years of Carlos Santana, but that would not prevent you from making other big moves. But what if the Mets in this pitch brought up a very big-time free agent next year? Jays fans, it's your worst nightmare. It's Vladimir Guerrero Jr. I'm starting the rumors tonight. I started it in the live stream. I'm going to start it tonight. Vladimir Guerrero Jr. to the Mets in 2025, in December of 2025. Just feels like, unless Pete Alonso resigns. So I'm really rooting for that Pete Alonso deal right now. Unless Pete signs or they go after Christian Walker, you got to think the press is going to be on Vladdy next year. He's buddies with Soto. A trio of Lindor and Vladdy and Soto would just be unreal. And when you're, again, thinking about what's the bar in the National League, it's the Dodgers. So you have to be able to compete with Ohtani, Mookie, and Freddie. This is not a finished product. A lot of things have to happen, and it might take a year or two for it to happen. And this year, you plug Paul Goldschmidt in at first base. You have enough lefties with Soto, Nimmo, and McNeil. Feel like you're good on lefties. I don't think you need to go Rizzo here. So maybe it's a Paul Goldschmidt edition. You get a veteran leader like that who can go through stretches where he maybe shows you the old Paul Goldschmidt that you remember. So the New York Mets, it is assured. When you think about what's next, big things. 2, in my mind, big moves are coming. Doesn't necessarily mean it's all in the free agent market, because we could see them try to tap the trade market as well. But I think the New York Mets now, it is World Series or bust mode, which means we are back to those big-time free agent or just in general acquisition names and rumors and everything. Big-time stuff is coming. Got to grab pitching. Now, these other teams that missed out, the New York Yankees are going to have to go scorched earth to try to get this team back on track, because the New York Yankees are kind of in trouble now. Rizzo's walking, Glaber is a free agent, and Soto is gone. The Yankees have a lot of work to do. They're talking about with all these pitchers. I think the focus needs to shift, and they need to start thinking about the bats. The Toronto Blue Jays have to be in crisis mode at this point, because Vladimir Guerrero Jr. has now seen the kind of dollars. Now, Vladdy's not going to get to $700 or $800 million. I'm not crazy. I don't think that. But Vladdy's going to blow past 400, right? The first year of Vladdy's next big contract, he'll be in his age 27 season, which means we get the 13 or 14-year deal, which takes us well beyond $400 million. Probably pushing 500 if he doesn't get to 500. And I don't see the Blue Jays giving that to Vladimir Guerrero Jr. right now. So you've got a Blue Jays team that has got to be in crisis mode. You missed out on Soto. You missed out on Ohtani. It's a joke. You have become, I said at the beginning of this, that LOL Mets and Mets gonna Met has kind of died. I hate to say it, but my team is kind of grabbing the LOL thing, which is sad. But with the front office duo that's in there, they're kind of earning it. The way they've handled Vladdy and Bo, the way they have gone out there and considered themselves real players for Ohtani and Soto when they aren't. We all can see it, that you're not a serious player when you're going up against the Mets and the Dodgers. You're not there. And one of the reasons you're not there is because you haven't taken care of your talent that you've brought up through your own system. That's a problem. So the Blue Jays are in crisis mode. The Red Sox actually are probably okay, because this is a Boston team that can just, the $50 million that you were looking at for Soto, repurpose that into Max Fried and Anthony Santander. The Red Sox are actually in an okay place right now. The Yankees have to be, again, scorched earth, go out and sign everybody. The Red Sox, I feel like they're probably in a decent spot. The Blue Jays have to be shitting their pants, and the Dodgers are just like, okay, cool, game on, let's go. We'll see you in the NLCS again. What about that? What if we have, for the next 10 years, the Mets and the Dodgers clashing in the NLCS 6 or 7 times? I'm all for that. As a Blue Jays fan, I'm all for that NLCS on the regular. It'll be great. But congratulations to the Mets fans, that have had to deal with being look, it's happened out west. The Padres and the Dodgers, right? Big brother, little brother. It's kind of been that way in New York. Yankees and Mets, big brother, little brother. Little brother won today. Little brother just upgraded. And now we'll see how things play out in 2025, and we'll see how the rest of this offseason plays out as well. Again, congratulations, Mets fans. Congratulations to Juan Soto. $800 million, and he's heading to Queens. I'm out of here, everybody. I do appreciate you coming in and spending some time with the channel. BALLCAP Nation, I salute you, especially all of you that made it to the end of this. Anybody that watched this in addition to the live stream, I really appreciate you for that, guys. I'm gone. Stay close. A lot of content is coming up around the winter meetings. I don't want you to miss anything. So make sure to subscribe and turn those notifications on. Hit that like on the way out. And remember, if it's low, let it go. And if it's high, let it fly. I'll catch you next time.